After a bit of a hiatus, we are back, and today we will be rebuilding a Toyota A131L 3-speed transmission and differential. If you'd like to see how to remove the transmission, check out my previous video. This transmission was used in 1984 to 2002 Corollas, 1985 to 1988 Chevy Novas, and 1989 to 2000 Geo Prizms. I'll be using a donor A131L from a 2001 Corolla, which is identical except for the case holes and the speedometer driven gear. I'll be using a Trans-Tech overhaul kit and Allomatic discs. First, we'll remove the torque converter from our old transmission. And as we can see, there's quite a few metal shavings in the case. I'm going to remove our cooler pipe union with a 14 and a 17 open flare wrench. Remove the 10mm bolt for the bracket. Next, we're going to remove the neutral safety switch. It's a 12mm nut here. This one's a 22mm. Then we'll remove our 10mm bolts. Now we'll just remove our mount bracket to get it out of the way. Next, we're going to remove our governor, so we have to remove this plate here. It's two 12mm bolts. The governor is also two 12mm bolts. And just pull that off right there. Just gonna pry up on this gently. There it goes. I'm just gonna pull it out. And as you can see, the gear is absolutely destroyed. Next, we'll remove the pan. It's 15 10mm bolts. So here's our pan. A spring of some sort, probably from the valve body, maybe. Find out. Magnets are just filthy. Ton of metal. Next we'll remove our tube bracket. Two 10mm bolts. And then our oil strainer, which is three 10mm bolts. Next we'll remove the tubes by prying up on them. Next we'll remove the manual valve body. They're all 10mm bolts. Next we'll remove the 14 10mm bolts for the valve body. Remove the throttle cable from the cam. Alright, now we got our valve body out. Remove the brake apply gasket. Next we'll remove the accumulator piston and springs. You got to turn these one turn at a time so tension is evenly released. Remove the second coast brake piston.
Snap ring pliers, get the ring. Next, we'll move on to the oil pump. It is 7 12mm bolts. So to remove the oil pump, there's 2 threaded holes on it, on either side. Ideally, you would be using the Toyota tool to do this, but I don't have it. I also didn't have any longer bolts laying around, but it is M10 by 1.25. And I had these spares laying around. I think these are lower control arm bolts. But anyway, I have some big washers for them. We're just going to use our CV axle rope tool. We're going to pop it out. And we'll take out the direct clutch. Pushing the second brake band into the case. Remove the forward clutch bearings and races. To remove the brake band, take a very small screwdriver or pin, push this pin in here. Remove the front planetary ring gear. And remove the sun gear. Remove the second coast brake band guide, 10mm. Next, remove the snap ring. Use a flathead. second quick drum. Then we'll remove our plates, disc, and flange. Remove the snap ring.
Quick note, you don't actually need to remove this snap ring.
Remove the number 2 one-way clutch and rear planetary gear. Remove the rear planetary ring gear. That was the wrong snap ring. There's an outer snap ring here. And there's one more snap ring here. I can pull all this out. Next, we'll remove the rear cover. It's 12mm bolts. Next, we'll remove the carrier cover. Look at that. Jeez. So, differential is completely destroyed. Look at that. Now we'll remove our bearing retainer, 5 12mm bolts. I'm gonna go ahead and remove our speedometer driven gear so we can remove the differential. It's 10mm here. There's a little circlip around it. Remove the retainer. So, unfortunately, as you can see, tapped a little too hard and broke the sleeve of the speedometer driven gear. So that's something to watch out for, because you do need to remove that to get the differential out. Here's the other piece. And of course, the rest came out pretty easily after that. So, bad news on the speedometer driven gear front. It is pot metal. I took it to a welder who wouldn't touch it. I did try to JB weld it, but was able to very easily break it with minimal force. So we're going to move on to plan number 2, using the electronic speedometer driven gear from the newer 2001 A131. And as you can see, the length of the sleeve is the same. So we should be able to just cut this right about here, and then I'm going to have to both drill out this hole a little bit, and then I'm going to JB weld my threads in this hole. So it should be the exact same as this. As you can see, I've already had to Dremel off the screws to get the sensor off. I think the correct size is roughly 3/8 of an inch. Just using a step bit, since all this needs to get reamed out anyway. So with our 3/8 bit, the right size, goes in and out easily. Now I'm going to have to Dremel out this area so our threading will fit right there. So the total length of our old speedometer driven gear is just over 10 centimeters. So that's what we will use to cut the threaded portion, and we'll make our new speedometer driven gear that long in total. The depth of where our thread will sit is 0.7 centimeters. It'll be recessed into there once we grind the rest of this out. Is 8.4 centimeters. So 8.4 minus 0.7 centimeters leaves us at 7.7 centimeters. So we'll need to make our threads be 2.3 centimeters. 2.3 centimeters on this will be roughly right there. Does not want to mark well with a pencil. All right, looks straight enough to me. it off a little. And we'll continue dremeling this out. As you can see, I'm gonna have to take out basically all of this piece right here up to where this divot is. As you can see, we did compromise the structural integrity a little bit, but this is all going to be welded in. Now our threads sit right in there. Take our JB weld. Don't really care how messy this is, I just want to fill in all the gaps here. Try not to get any down the shaft. Pretty centered on there. Fill in around it a little bit. Make sure our threads are clean. All right, we're gonna let that set and call it good. Next, remove the parking pawl bracket. Remove the two 14mm side bearing cap bolts. There's a bunch more debris in the case. Next, we'll unstake this nut using a cape chisel. Remove the drive pinion cap. As we can see, that's broken as well. So install some sort of bar into where the back of the drive pinion goes in, where the cap is, and then brace it against something. So to pull the pinion, I'm just going to use 2 bolts from a Harbor Freight gear puller set. I'm just going to hold that with my hand and then hit it with the 30mm impact socket with an extension. I'll use our gear puller. Don't actually have the proper tool to remove the bearing and race, but I'm going to use a Harbor Freight 5-pound slide hammer. Get one of the jaws under there and strike upwards, then move to the other side and do the same. Now remove your race. Move the parking lock rod. Move parking lock pawl. Remove the retaining spring. We're going to rotate this collar here, the hammer and chisel. You can see our pin. A little bit more. Next, punch out the roll pin using an 1/8 inch. I ended up just removing the collar and getting it out of the way so we can more easily punch this out. I'm going to take this one, it's a 16th, just to get it the rest of the way. Remove the spring for the governor pressure adapter. Off this. Grab it, kind of wheel it. Linkage out of the way. There goes that.
removed the snap ring after removing the governor pressure adapter, unlike I did here.
Our drive pinion. Pretty destroyed, yeah.
So there really isn't a need to remove the piston return spring unless you really need to clean behind it, and I probably wouldn't recommend even doing it, but I am going to show you guys how I did it just for the sake of it. I was able to reinstall it without any special tools. There's one snap ring you can get with a small flathead.
There it is. The inner snap ring, I believe, is just for this race. I'm not going to try to remove that. All right, so now our case essentially has everything removed, so we'll go ahead and clean it up. I'm just going to pressure wash the outside and then clean the inside with mineral spirits. Next, we'll tap out our old axle seals with the flathead. Clean it out a little bit. Put a little bit of grease on our new seal. Just going to use the old seal to tap it in. You don't want it to be flush with the case all the way around. Replace the O-ring on the bearing cage. Cover it with a little bit of transmission fluid. Still have some left over on this. Insert the drive pinion. And tap in the bearing cage till it passes the groove for the snap ring. Install your snap ring. Gently tap the differential back onto the snap ring. Install your oil slinger with the lip facing out. Install your outer race with the flat part facing inwards, using a brass bar and a hammer. Install a new spacer with the small part facing inwards. Next, we'll install our counter-driven gear onto the shaft. So install some sort of bar into where the back of the drive pinion goes in, where the cap is, and then brace it against something. Using a 30mm socket and a hammer.
My video cut out, but you're just going to tap the gear until the nut can be threaded on. Torque to 127 foot-pounds. I'm using the OEM Toyota companion flange tool along with a piece of flat steel that I got from Ace Hardware that I cut and drilled.
There we go. Place your drive pinion cap O-ring. Install your drive pinion cap. Install a new O-ring on our differential bearing retainer. Next, we'll install our differential and bearing retainer. Make sure you have your race and your spacer here. Take your retainer, next install your bearing cap. to 36 foot-pounds. Next, we'll install our bearing retainer bolts. It's these 12mm bolts with the little washer on them. I'm going to use a little bit of blue Loctite 242 because that's what was on them from the factory. Torque spec is 14 foot-pounds. Stake the counter-driven gear nut. Next, install your governor pressure adapter. Just align this hole with this hole there. You're going to stick your spring in that end. Make sure you can't remove it. Push it out by hand.
Replace your manual shaft seal.
Install your new seal. This one will just be flush. Use a 12mm impact. Install your collar onto your shaft lever and align your hole with this divot here. Insert your shaft into the case. Might have to tap it in. Then align your lever with the shaft. Align the holes. Ideally, we want this collar further on there. Just use a brass punch to drive the collar on there more. Now we will install our roll pin. Now since we're reusing this collar, we're just going to try to rotate it so it doesn't move. As you can see, this is where they impacted it before, so it wouldn't move. So we're just going to rotate it a little further that direction. Now it's covering the pin. Just going to push the collar a little further onto the shaft. And now we'll just try staking it like they did. Insert the retainer clip. Gonna put this into the hole. Install your parking pawl, slide it in there. Take your spring. The longer side goes in the pawl. There's a hole. The shorter side goes in the hole on the case. Now you just need to insert the pin with your parking pawl lined up. Install your parking lock rod. And your parking lock pawl bracket. This is the 3 gold colored 10 millimeters. Alright, test the operation now, move it to the P range. Alright, now that's in park. And our gear won't turn. There we go. Next we'll install our piston return spring. Honestly didn't need to take this out and it's going to be tricky to get it back in, but gotta do it, so. Snap ring, we gotta compress that while getting the snap ring in the groove.
work my way around. Have the transmission facing down, like full body weight on it. I got it in the groove here, so I'm just going to work my way all the way around. So we are in the groove all the way around. You can tell because you can see these little marks right here. Install a new oil sealing ring or intermediate shaft. And install the intermediate shaft. Next, we'll clean off our sealing surface with a razor blade and some adhesive remover. Final wipe down with a Scotch-Brite pad. Going to do the same for our cover plate. Install the rear cover with a new gasket. These are the 12mm flange bolts. Torque is 18 foot-pounds. your discs in ATF for 2 hours minimum before installation. Next, we'll install our flanges, plates, and discs. So here's how it's going to look. These are going to be your plates that have the flat flat piece right there, and it's going to go flange, and then there's going to be 6 discs and 5 plates, then a flange. So we're going to start with our flange, flat side facing towards the oil pump. So go new disc, plate, disc, plate, disc, plate, disc, plate, disc, plate, disc, and then your flange with the flat part facing towards the outside of the case. Install a snap ring. Make sure your snap ring doesn't align on one of these spaces. So right here will be fine. Next, install the ring gear into the case. And it goes race, bearing, race. The race with the smaller inner diameter. So this one goes first, then bearing, then the race with the larger inner diameter. Align the flukes of your discs. Coat our thrust washer in petroleum jelly, and then align the tabs. There's a larger one and a smaller one with our planetary carrier on this side of it as opposed to this side, and then align it with the discs and plates. This is probably going to be one of the trickier parts to perfectly align these. Coat your thrust washer with petroleum jelly and install it, lining up your tabs. So I realized I disassembled my one-way reverse clutch when taking the transmission apart. It's just 2 snap rings. So put that back together, and then we will install this onto our carrier. We're going to want to turn our carrier while pushing that in. And to test the operation, so it'll rotate clockwise, and then when we try to reverse it, it'll be locked.
Install our snap ring, making sure the cutout isn't aligned with one of the open spaces. Install your second coast brake band guide. This piece goes like this, and a little tab there. It's actually going to sit on top of your one-way clutch. And this piece goes on top of it, and it wraps around here. Now we can install our second brake into the case. It'll be flange, 3 discs, and 3 plates. Starting with the flange, smooth side facing out towards the oil pump, then a disc, then a plate, then a disc, plate, you're going to want to line up the notched gears right there. Now your last disc. Plate. Now install your piston return spring. Then insert your second brake drum into the case this direction. You're going to want to align this groove with where the bolt comes through. Install your snap ring. You're going to have to push. So we're going to try to push it with hammer handles, as they say in the manual, while getting our snap ring in. So you should be able to just kind of hammer it into the groove at a certain point when the snap ring catches. And we just want to make sure that the snap ring is not aligned in one of these spaces, so we have a nice solid area so the entire snap ring is in the groove. Align the flukes of your second brake. Then take your second brake hub and number 1 one-way clutch, and you're gonna install it this way as opposed to this way. Check the distance between the hub and the rear planetary gear. Should be about 5 millimeters.
Next, put some petroleum jelly on your sun gear input drum thrust washer and install it onto the sun gear input drum and drop it in. And we'll take our ring gear, and there's 2 races and a bearing. It'll look like this. It'll be this style of race with this bearing that fits right into it, and then this style of race like that. Put a little petroleum jelly on those, put them into the ring gear. Like so, with the larger race on the bottom side of it. Then we'll take our planetary gear. This already has the bearing and race in it, still from disassembly. We'll take that and we will just install it in. Then we'll take the whole assembly and install it this direction. So the end of this bushing inside the ring gear should be flush with the intermediate shaft shoulder, or a little under, a little bit further towards the oil pump. So once that all checks out, we're going to take this race, and you'll know it's the right race because the inner diameter will be 23 millimeters and the outer diameter will be 35.7. So pretty close. Install that race on the end of the ring gear. Next, install your brake band. We go in this direction, this hole on the right side. Slide it in like so. You're going to take your pin, you're going to install it in this hole right here. Line it up, push your pin through. So that's fully seated. Make sure this arm is on top of the metal part of this band. It guides the pin in to hit the band. Install the races and bearings on your direct clutch. Replace your oil sealing rings. Then coat your thrust washer, this flat side, with petroleum jelly. Install oil groove facing out onto your direct drum, like so, and install it on your forward clutch. And now we can install our direct clutch and forward clutch into the case.
And that's about what the spacing should be when we're pushing them together. Next we'll take our oil pump, replace the shaft oil seals. The kit I got did not come with the shaft thrust washer for the oil pump. But we'll replace these seals, then we'll replace the O-ring. Now we'll install our oil pump. Torque to 16 foot-pounds. Next we'll install our second coast brake piston with a new sealing ring on this portion. And then 2 new O-rings for this. Coat these rings with ATF before installing them. Install your snap ring. Alright, snap rings in the groove all the way around. Next, install your accumulators with their new O-rings. B2 goes in the middle. C1 goes here. And C2 goes here. Install your cover with a new gasket. It's only 5 bolts in this step, but it's a little easier to get it in this one to get the whole thing down. A little more. Now we can just gradually tighten them, alternating between bolts. Put in your new oil strainer. Next, we will install the valve body. What we're going to do is press this cam, pull it down with our finger, and insert the cable into the cam. All right, it's in. Now we can place our valve body in there. Next, we'll install our valve cover bolts. I'll include a diagram of the bolt lengths. The lengths in the diagram are actually wrong. It states that these are 50 millimeters. One goes here. One goes here. One here. Next it says 36 millimeters.
One here. One here. One here. One here. One here.
Next, we'll do our, it says they're 25 in the manual.
One there.
It says they're 20 millimeters.
One down there.
Torque is 7 foot-pounds. Install your manual valve. Place it like this. Align the valve with the pin on the shaft lever. also 7 foot-pounds. Place your detente springs on the manual valve body. It'll be this little notched part out, and it'll be sloping down onto the manual lever. And this one be facing up like this. Your 41 or 42 millimeter bolt goes in the back. Then your 19 or 20 millimeter go in front. And you want the roller to be centered with the lever here. So you can kind of just hold it in place while you tighten these. These are 7 foot-pounds as well. Next, reinstall your tubes. Do our D tube first. Next, we'll install the C tube with this angle facing towards the other two boost valves. Tube is the shorter one. That goes from here to here. And lastly, our A tube goes from here to here. Install the tube bracket with two 30 millimeter bolts. Seven foot-pounds. Take one 56 millimeter, we'll go right there. Then two 50 millimeters, we'll go right here. Seven foot-pounds. Next, we'll clean off our pan. We got our magnets cleaned off and in there. Wipe down our sealing surface on the pan one more time. New gasket. Install your pan bolt. Torque to 43 inch-pounds.
While we're at it, we'll install a new drain plug using a T55 to get this old one off. New gasket as well. It's a 10mm hex. I could not find the torque spec, but we're going to say 36 foot-pounds because that's kind of the standard for this size plug. Take our speedometer driven gear with a new O-ring. We will have to install the gear first, but it does fit very well. Take our gear and our retaining clip. As you can see, it meshes with our differential gear right there. I'm going to be using a leftover valve body bolt. It's just a nice 10mm bolt that's about 30mm long. Clean up your carrier cover. And the cover. Install your cover plate with a new gasket. It's 11 bolts, and it does call for Loctite 271. There are 11 bolts to put in here. Torque spec is 18 foot-pounds. Place your fill plug, 17mm. Use our extractor socket again. Here's our new plug. Just going to keep that loose for now because we still got to fill it up once we get it in. Next, we'll reinstall our governor. Take our adapter with a new O-ring. Our governor body, which will have a washer right here. Then our cap with a new O-ring. Take our cover bracket, go like so. Two 12mm head bolts. And we'll torque to 9 foot-pounds.
Reinstall your filler tube with a new O-ring. I'm going to replace the clamps on these hoses. Hose is still good, thankfully. We can install this right here. Make sure we like the orientation of our clamps. This one's pretty good. Probably clean this up a little bit. Reinstall this clamp. Tighten this down with a 14mm flare. Install your neutral start switch. You're going to want to line up this line. This is the neutral basic line with this groove. Install your locking washer and your nut. Spec for this is pretty low, 61 inch-pounds. You will need a deep 22mm, which I do not have, so just gonna get it snug. I want to line up our shaft, this little groove right there with this line, the neutral basic line. Install your bolts. Torque to 9 foot-pounds. Reinstall your protector plate. It's 2 short flanged 12mm. Put in a new differential drain plug. Torque that to 36 foot-pounds as well. Next, install your rear motor mount bolts with a little red Loctite. Torque spec is 38 foot-pounds. Now just loosely install your rear mount. This part faces forward. This is going to be a 17mm head. It is thicker than the front mount bolt, if that helps out at all. And it takes this nut that catches on the bracket. Just leave it loose for now. And of course, don't forget to reinstall your torque converter. There we go.
All right, and that wraps up the rebuild. I won't be making a video reinstalling, but I'll include any relevant notes for reinstallation in the show notes below. As always, check out my other videos. I'll be making a lot more videos about this Corolla and my 96 Camry and other Toyotas generally. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next time.